The Nvidia GTX 1070 is sure to be a hit card, as it follows in the 970's footsteps numerically and has an aggressive price point of $449 for the Founders Edition and $379 for the custom versions that will come later. Steam hardware survey, beware. Does it have the performance to properly stake a claim to a chunk out of the comparatively huge amount of PC consumers' wallets? TunnelBear is the easy-to-use VPN service that lets you use the web as if you're in one of 20 different countries. Learn more and try TunnelBear for free at the link in the video description. First, let's start with specs. The GTX 1070 is the second card in their new Pascal lineup, and it features a GP104 chip with 1920 CUDA cores compared to the 1080's 2560, and runs at a boost clock of 1683 MHz compared to the 1080's 1733 MHz. It also features the nice new 16nm process. Unlike the GTX 1080's shiny new GDDR5X memory, the 1070 is still sporting GDDR5, but is claiming the title of the world's fastest version of said memory, as well as running out of the box at 8 gigabit per second. That paired with the new memory compression algorithm, which gives you effectively 20% additional bandwidth, results in 8 gigs of some pretty damn fast GDDR5. But beyond raw specs, there are some other features Nvidia has baked into the Pascal cookie as well, such as simultaneous multi-projection and Ansel, which make VR gaming and multi-monitor gaming way better and bring gaming screenshots into basically the future, along with some improvements to Nvidia VRWorks. But if you want to hear more about those, click here to check them out in the official launch review for the GTX 1080. I spend more time on them there. We got our hands on the Founders Edition, which sounds fancy but is really just what Nvidia is calling the reference version and selling for, as previously mentioned, $449, a full $70 more than the MSRP for base models from add-in board partners whose cards we might be able to see at Computex this year, but I expect more of the 1080s to be shown off than the 1070s as the launch is so close. The seemingly Deus Ex-inspired shroud features a similar aesthetic to the silver and black shrouds with blower-style fans that Nvidia has been using for the past few generations, but with more angles this time around. Connectivity is good, as it features HDMI 2.0 for 4K at 60Hz, 3 DisplayPort 1.4 connectors for 4K at 120Hz, or 8K at 60Hz, holy crap, and dual-link DVI. SLI is a little confusing these days because of the introduction of new types of multi-GPU support with DirectX 12. What you need to know for now is that classic Nvidia SLI only supports two-way configurations by default and allows users to request something called an enthusiast key directly from Nvidia, which will unlock three-way and four-way SLI, even though it is no longer recommended by Nvidia. There is more information to be discussed here, like in-depth looks at MDA, also known as Multi-Display Adapter Mode, and LDA Explicit, also known as Linked Display Adapter Explicit Mode, but we'll cover that in a future video, exploring the performance differences and general support of each mode, so stay tuned for that. Also, just a quick note before moving on, if it doesn't seem like we have a bunch of AMD cards in our testing, it's because their new Polaris architecture, which is supposed to compete with Pascal, is right around the corner. We'll have much more from the red team when those cards drop. With that said, let's have a look at how our benchmarking turned out. We tested at 4K and 1440p. Even if you're watching this and have a 1080p monitor, it's better when wielding this much power to run your games at higher resolutions anyway, with something called super sampling to make things look super nice. We have a guide on that here. Although we've been waiting for the VR games market to mature a bit before reviewing how good this thing is with the Rift and the Vive, I did want to investigate what resolution exactly this card should actually be aimed at for standard desktop gaming. We know from the investigation of the 1080 that the 1080 is a rather capable 4K card, as we kind of expected, and while the story isn't the same for the 1070, it's impressive in its own way. With maxed out settings at every resolution, it destroyed 1080p gaming, showing that even with a minor amount of pulling back on the settings, you would have a card that can give you the performance you need for your shiny new 140Hz monitor. At 1440p, it kept flexing its muscles, never dropping below 60 FPS with all of the settings cranked on whatever the highest preset was. Then in 4K, it didn't quite sit up with its bigger brother, but still managed higher than 30 FPS in every title, with its settings cranked even a little bit higher, with everything put to the max, even above what the highest preset in some games were. Okay, so it's mainly a 1440p card if you're going for beauty, or a 1080p card if you're going for wild frame rate gaming, or a 4K card if you want to dial back on a fair bit of different settings or don't mind gaming at 30 FPS, although I don't really recommend that if you can avoid it. At 1440p, it handily beats its predecessor, the 970. While we did expect this after the launch, it's still quite awesome to see a card that isn't the flagship perform so well. Speaking of which, what about dollars per frame? Well, as expected, the 1070 kind of rocks. The 1080 was already pretty good, but it was against really big, beastly expensive setups at 4K. The 1070, when put up against more standard competition and something that you'd expect more people to run, still performs quite impressively. We still need to wait for AMD's Polaris to really see where it lines up, but for now, I'm quite happy. For power draw, the entire bench only drew 216 watts from the wall, which is ridiculous and gives you borderline unlimited options for lower wattage power supplies. Thermals were even lower than expected as well, sitting at 78 degrees Celsius. Just wow. In conclusion, the 1070 really looks like the card it needed to be. Sure, the 1080 is great, but its cost was also great. The 1070 is able to destroy 1080p gaming, which is still the most popular resolution, and gives people fantastic options for high refresh rate monitors, and even gives out that sweet, sweet nectar that is 1440p gaming at 60 FPS or above. All I have to say is, to those that delayed upgrading their rigs for the past few months, and to my random friend Ryan, it's coming, man. This is very possibly the card that you were waiting for. Crunchyroll is a site created by anime fans for anime fans. They offer the most current episodes of new shows straight from Japan, like Twin Star Exorcists and Ace Attorney. Wah! Large collections of the most popular anime series like One Piece and Naruto. I'm gonna get ripped on so much for that. And all of the content on their site is professionally subtitled. Head over to crunchyroll.com/Linus and you can sign up for a 30-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium. If you enjoy the many benefits of Premium, like 1080p streaming, getting new episodes of shows straight from Japan within an hour of their premiere, which is like almost the whole point, and being able to stream anywhere, anytime on a variety of devices like your phone, tablet, game console, or, PC, you can continue your premium membership to Crunchyroll for only $6.95 per month. So again, head over to crunchyroll.com/Linus to check them out. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you liked it, like it. If you disliked it and you're like, I'm waiting for Polaris, that's fine, you can do that. Subscribe if you want to see the Polaris videos, which will eventually come out. And yeah, use our affiliate code to shop on Amazon, because that's super helpful, whether you're buying Polaris or Pascal, whichever side of the P coin you decide to go with. Check out our shirts in the description down below, and don't forget to check out the forum. They're awesome. You can talk about graphics cards there. Just don't start a flame war. There's no point in that. Just constructive discussion. That's what the forum's about. Yeah, check out this video. It's the 1080 review. I mentioned it a few times in this video, but yeah, they're kind of sister videos, so just go check it out.